In one of our Partner Insight sessions, we welcome from Herrick Executive Chairman Irwin Kishner. Irwin is an expert in some of the legal challenges in the sports industry and will speak to us about some of the innovations he sees coming out of sports, leadership and workplace development, and the future of mixed-use development around sports projects. Well, first, Irwin, I just want to say we're sorry we're not together in Dana Point. I know that you have been a very, I would say, consistent attendee of the World Congress of Sport. 20 straight years?
I've been at every single one, Abe, and regretfully, this is the one year I won't be there.
I really want to thank you for your continued support. I want to talk first, Irwin, about your perspective, your point of view. You've been in this business a long time. We've seen a lot over the years that we've been in the business. Just your thoughts on the last 10 to 12 days, what you've seen and how it's impacted you.
Well, from a personal vantage, coming from the legal side of things, there have been a plethora of different legal issues that have been coming up and that I've been looking at from the vantage of our client's perspective. Just to give you a couple, 2 or 3 weeks ago, nobody would have fathomed the concept of not having these mass gatherings. Myself, I was at Madison Square Garden literally 2 weeks ago. And while people were very cognizant of the risk, nobody thought that it was going to get to this point so quickly. But alas, we have. And what issues pop up? Well, there's sponsorship issues, there's employment issues, there's event cancellation issues, there's insurance issues, there's force majeure issues, there's all kinds there's media deals that have or that are thinking about being able to portray and show on live TV the coverage of sports. There are concessionaires who are planning their lives around the fact that they're going to be serving and servicing an arena. And then, of course, you have all of the other people that rely upon this ecosystem, from the people that clean the floors, run the elevators, change the light bulbs, run the streets that are around the area. It's a big domino effect, and everybody's been affected in a certain way.
And to that point, Irwin, were there any of those provisions that you mentioned, a number of them, were any of them more prevalent in the first, say, week or so of the crisis, or is it more just looking at contracts, looking at agreements, and trying to chart a path ahead?
Well, I think it's the latter, Abe. It's trying to chart a path that makes the most sense in being A, fiscally responsible, B, being a good member of the community, and C, not trying to take advantage, if you will, of the situation in a manner that was not appropriate. Everybody is really behaving well at a very high level, and it brings cooperation. It brings harmony to the industry because we're all seeing this.
That's a sentiment that I've heard echoed from a number of people I've spoken to, Irwin, especially the theme of partnership, trying to remain good partners, because we are all in this together, and we lived through 9/11. We had the 2008 recession, but we all agree this is entirely different.
It's entirely different because there's so much inherent uncertainty, not to minimize the uncertainty that were associated with both the Great Recession of 2008, 2009, 2010 even, or the 9/11. Those were events that we sort of saw a path out. This one is just evolving on a moment-to-moment basis. Yes, this too shall absolutely pass. There's no question about it. The more significant question is when, how, and when can we get back to normal?
We've all had so many conversations, Irwin, that we could see a big change in the sports media models going forward.
The value of sporting contests and the ability to broadcast them is always going to be great. The question is, how is that going to evolve in the future? So we've seen people now being able to access sports on many different devices, including at the venues. And indeed, we'll see that evolution continue. But the value, the inherent value underlying those rights are going to remain. And it's even going to increase with the repeal of PAPSA and the legalization, in quotes, of wagering. You're just going to see that accelerate that value. I mean, what I really see is it coming back online. I think first you're going to see quarantine players who were previously quarantined playing in fanless arenas, which I think in and of itself will create a lot of hype. And I think you'll even get a more prominent audience in the sense of numbers. Because people are going to they're so hungry for their consumption of sports. And then slowly but surely, we'll see venues filling up and coming back live and online. And the question just to me is that 2, 3, 4, 5 months away? But it's going to happen again.
You know, I talked earlier about mixed-use developments, Irwin, and we could look at every sports project in America specifically, and there are numbers of cranes around those sports facilities because they are developing mixed-use developments around those sports facilities to bring people to events earlier, have them stay later. I'm afraid to say those projects, I fear, are going to be on hold for quite some time.
I'm not as fearful as you may be,
Okay.
Abe. I do think that those developments, which were very well thought out, very well planned, are going to be a focal point for the local communities. And it does make sense. I mean, once we have less of a fear of going out in public and interacting with our fellow human beings, you'll see these things slowly come back online because they do make sense. It does make sense to have a focal point, i.e. a professional sports team, and have all of the entertainment, hospitality, retail surrounding it. It's a great way to spend an afternoon or an evening.
Couple final points. In a time of crisis, there's always a spirit or an opportunity for innovation. Where could you see some innovation in the sports business, Irwin?
Well, I think this idea of having contests in arena-less, or excuse me, in spectator-less venues was never even a thought up until recently. And I think you can also see the proliferation of virtual reality type things where you'll be able to go into your own room and be able to watch these contests as if you're there. I think that's going to proliferate as a result of this because it does create, in this type of situation, a much safer environment, and you can literally feel like you're in the arena or the stadium.
Also, as the sports industry really transforms itself to a work from home industry, do you see any major challenges or obstacles there?
I think you're going to see something of a social shift in how people conduct business, because if you're able to establish that you are just as productive, if not even more productive, if you take commuting time out of it and you're able to use that time in a productive manner, it makes sense to have less cost, i.e. less physical cost in the concept of real estate, and why not have it as a more diversified? So this is going to be a social shift as people prove the point that you can work at home and productively.
Well, you look like you're doing great. Stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you for your insight today, and I look forward to seeing you in person soon down the road.
Very nice talking to you, Abe. Thank you.
All right, have a great day.